The Gwaltney Group.
The following is a sponsored program paid for by Robin Gwaltney. Gwaltney Group. RE/MAX results. Welcome to Rochester Real Estate, featuring Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning. Welcome back to the weekend. Saturday. It's going to be a bit of a steamy weekend for us. I'm Andy Brownell on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM. And again this week, the team from Gwaltney Group-RE Results with us. Robin's still on assignment, but we're very pleased to have with us Elizabeth Burch and Zach Pagel. And good morning, Elizabeth and Zach.
Hi, good morning, Andy.
Good morning.
Happy weekend.
Yes, exactly. It's always a happy weekend. Although in the real estate world, you guys really don't get weekends. You work weekends.
I know. When anyone ever is like, oh my gosh, it's Friday, I'm like, what? It doesn't, that's not how it translates for us. But, we get a day here and there off during the week if we can squeeze it. And it's always nice because it's, shops aren't as busy and you can make appointments and get in pretty well. So we're not at a loss.
Oh, that's good. And I understand Brett may be joining us before the program's done. So we look forward to that as well.
He will.
Okay. Well, before we started the program, you mentioned some different, programs available for people who may not actually believe that they could get into owning a home. And I would love to hear all about that.
Absolutely. And it's something we're really excited to talk about. As you mentioned, a lot of potential home buyers are not aware of these programs being out there, but there is a lot of money available from our great state of Minnesota towards helping get people into homes and achieving that American dream. So wanted to highlight a few of the specific programs out there. In summary, buyers can access over $50,000 in a home purchase transaction of down payment assistance, which can really be that make or break difference of having a home become more affordable than renting a similar property. So it takes shape in really a few different forms depending on the scenario that a buyer's in. So one of the newer programs here in Minnesota is the first generation home buyer program.
What?
So that one is defined as someone whose parents or grandparents have not owned a home, nor has that buyer owned a home themselves. So really the first generation within their family to become a home buyer. That's going to provide the greatest access to funds. A portion of that would be down payment assistance, and then a portion would be a secondary loan as well. But again, up to over $50,000 of assistance available from that.
Wow.
The cool part of really awesome. And you can tell we're excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
What's neat about that one is that it's not going to collect any interest on what they're providing you across that period. And then a portion of it is forgivable as well. So if a home buyer buys that property that's going to work well for them and their family, 50% of all that assistance they receive is forgivable if they live in the home for 10 years. And then the remaining balance is completely forgivable if they live in the home for another 10 years beyond that. So really providing a lot of options. If someone does have changes to their life or needs to relocate within that time, it's still a great program because you're not paying interest on that balance and you would just pay it back when you sell that property.
And that's the key to it, isn't it? Because odds are you're going to gain equity during that time period.
Exactly.
Which would likely cover whatever balance you might have, even if you have to leave early.
Yep. The best time to buy is always yesterday.
Yes.
So, really, it's saving people from having to spend years collecting that down payment, which can often be the hardest part of buying a home. We find that a lot of people qualify for the payment. And like we said, it's lower than what they're paying in rent.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that down payment that's really getting them, especially since having a lower down payment can lead to having to pay private mortgage insurance if you're not utilizing one of these down payment assistance products.
What I really like about this one as well is you have somebody who has no I guess, memory of home ownership. It's always been in their family that they've rented. And that dream has, at least to their perception, has been out of reach. That could be a changer for future generations as well, just to get that started.
Yeah, it can change the entire trajectory of a family's life. And for that reason, those closings are usually really emotional for all parties there. And it's just awesome to see how excited people are when they finally get to get those keys and open the door of their new home for the first time.
Especially too, if they're competing, right? That $50,000 more than likely can cover your down payment. It can cover your closing costs. So that means that when you're going in, you're writing an offer, even if you're in a multiple situation, you don't need to ask for closing costs from the sellers or something along those lines. So you can be competitive with this program as well. So it's just a wonderful resource to know about, and really, really, really take a peek at. And the website to look at this, I want to say is it First PA?
Believe that's one of the websites. Easiest way for a buyer to learn more about it, though, is going to be to contact a member of our team, and we can connect them with a great lender who knows the specific details on these products and can help each buyer look at whether or not they might qualify.
And Robin and I have often talked about how your home is the bank account you live in. I love that mantra from Robin. I think she should make that into a bumper sticker, by the way. But
I think so,
I like that a lot.
Or T-shirts or something like that. But
I know.
I can't emphasize enough how important it is. Home ownership is to building wealth.
Yep. And with the program we just talked about for the first generation home buyer, it was created by the state with some of that excess pandemic money that they had. So it is a limited bucket that's out there. Mm-hmm. It is over half utilized right now by buyers who have already gone through the process and moved into their homes. So we do anticipate that funding should hopefully still be there through the end of this year. But if it is a program that a buyer is interested in learning more about, we would encourage them to reach out to us so we can connect with a lender and figure out if it's something that might be of interest before that money is no longer on the table.
Yeah, get moving.
Yes. Don't miss out.
And we do want to point out too, it's not just first generation home buyers that can benefit from these programs available as well. So there are multiple first time home buyer grants and down payment assistance available too. And a lot of people might be hearing this and say, I've owned a home before, but I'm renting right now. I guess that means I no longer qualify. And that's not necessarily true. So the state of Minnesota defines a first-time home buyer as someone who has not owned a home in the last 3 years. So people that might have owned in the past and experienced struggles during the Great Recession and rented since that point are also folks who can take advantage of these programs and become homeowners once again with access to really nice amounts of that down payment assistance. So something we do want to point out that is especially not well advertised.
No, I was aware of the program, but I had no idea that was a way you could qualify. That's interesting.
Yeah, so if anyone has questions about their qualification, it really is best, as we said, just to get connected with a lender. More often than not, folks who are reaching out are surprised in a pleasant way at what they're able to qualify for on the assistance available.
Yeah, I bet it's a pleasant surprise. That is amazing. Yeah. All right. So the best route before we take a quick break, well, maybe throw out the phone number of the website, is to get a hold of somebody at Gwaltney Group-RE Results and get the ball rolling, because I know Robin and you guys are connected to some great lenders as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we'll take a quick break. We're with the Gwaltney Group-RE Results team, Elizabeth and Zach, with us this morning. We'll continue in a moment on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.com. To Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE Results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. Andy Brownell with Elizabeth and Zach with the Gwaltney Group-RE Results. Brett will join us at some point this morning before the end of the show. unless you guys cover it just as well as you already done. We, during the first part of the show, talked about this wonderful program for folks who have never owned a home, that have no family history of home ownership, and to change that. But another misconception I run into all the time is that I have to have 20% down. And that seems so insurmountable to some folks. And that's not really true, is it?
That is not true whatsoever. And it's definitely a common misconception out there. So there are multiple loan products out there that require as small as a 3% down payment. And that 3% down payment would still be on a conventional loan. Mm-hmm. So that exact same loan type you're using if you have the 20% down payment. The primary difference, if you do have a smaller down payment, is something called private mortgage insurance, or PMI, which is essentially ensuring the lender that in the event there was a loan default, that they'd at least be able to recover that portion to get to the same as a 20% down payment. So it's like an insurance product for the lender that's added to your monthly mortgage payment, but it's not a huge amount. Typically less than a few $100s a month. And it's a lot easier for many people to pay a few $100s a month more on their mortgage payment than try to take that same few $100s a month and save up towards that 20% down payment, which could take, years or even a decade to do.
Yeah, the beauty of that, in my experience, was that we went that route many, many moons ago, and the value of our home increased because of the wonderful market that we're in. And we were able to refinance relatively quickly and erase the PMI.
Yep, that is such a great option too. And I think people forget about that as well. And, as we're seeing the rates kind of on the decline too, I've had a lot of clients reach out to me and say, hey, Elizabeth, do you think it's a good time to be refinance? The ones that have bought in the last, year or 2 years. And if that's where the situation that you're in right now currently as your homeowner, let's say you bought last year and it was a little high, it was in the 7s, and you're starting to watch the interest rates, reach out to us, let us know. We can get you in touch with a lender, or you can go back to your lender that you did your mortgage with and ask their expertise, and if you should be waiting, or if now is a great time to do that too.
I suppose you just plug the numbers into a spreadsheet and it tells you whether it makes sense for you at this point in time.
Right. I think it would be a great idea to talk to your lender, though. They have some insight on what they think. Maybe wait 6 months, see what it looks like,
sure,
rate wise, because we are seeing a decline happening, which is fantastic.
Yes.
And some people do shy away from the entire idea of refinance because they say, well, I'm going to have to pay closing costs. Mm-hmm. It's not worth it to do. And that's not always necessarily true. So there are options where the lender can offer you a bit higher of a rate than what would be the standard rate, but it erases all of your closing costs. So you walk to that refinance table not having to pay in anything, but still can reduce your payment by multiple hundreds of dollars a month in many cases.
Absolutely. And even eating the closing costs sometimes makes sense. It did for us. We refinanced multiple times before we paid off the home because we started up at almost 10%.
Okay.
And worked our way all the way down to 4%.
Wow. Congrats.
Over a period of years, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, that's amazing. So, it doesn't make it worth in the long run, that those few thousands of dollars.
It does.
Depending on what rate you're going to get, it absolutely does. So such a great thing to think about when you're in a mortgage and you have a high interest rate right now.
But it is nice, as you said, Elizabeth, we're, instead of seeing the pressure on the rates going one direction, it seems that right now all the economic reports and everything you're hearing from the Fed is that we're moving the other direction, and probably a lot sooner than later. That's got to be heartening for folks who are thinking about getting into this.
Absolutely. And folks are starting to hear more and more about that, and it is drawing them into the market as buyers, which is great news for a Rochester real estate market. But with that, we'd also say if the rates do continue to go down, there is the possibility that you're going to be competing against more and more buyers for the same properties that you might have an interest in. So if you talk to a lender and are able to qualify to purchase right now, in many cases, it may be a great idea. If rates do continue to go down, but you bought right now, like we just talked about, you can refinance later on, but hopefully you'll have gotten into that home at a great purchase price that's significantly lower than what we might see as more and more buyers are offering multiple times on the same properties as we might see later this year.
That's, it does seem like there's a lot of people waiting in the wings. And if they all jump in, you're right, the prices are going to go up.
I think we should talk to you about the sellers. If there's people out there that are interested in selling, it's still a really, really good time. Our inventory is still low. We would love to see more houses on the market. So it is still a great time to sell.
Absolutely.
And Robin has pointed this out to me as well. And especially when I watched my son, when he bought his home, it was during those crazy times in the pandemic. And it was extraordinarily, stressful for them because they would look at a home and it would be snatched up almost immediately. And
right. There really wasn't a second showing happening. We'll say that.
No. And now I hate to say it, you have the luxury of it being a more normal market where you have the time to take a close look. And you as a seller also don't have that pressure of having 15 to 20 offers placed on your table and having to make that decision as well.
We would agree. We would say it's more of a healthy balance right now where nobody on either side is feeling rushed to make a decision. Mm-hmm. Properties still are moving quickly and close to their asking price. But a lot of buyers, as we talked about on the last show, are sort of waiting in the wings after they look at a property, seeing if anyone else is going to offer. And then once that first one comes in, just like a bid at an auction, start getting multiple people raising their paddle and the home sells from there.
As you guys said earlier, there's no time like the present, or I think Zach said the best time to buy is yesterday. Because to get started and to start building the equity is really what it is all about.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just can't start soon enough. So,
all right.
So take advantage of those programs. Our first-time home buyers, contact us. We'll get you in touch with the right people.
Okay. Well, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of the Gwaltney Group RE/MAX results. Elizabeth and Zach with us this morning on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9.
Fees may apply.
To Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back Saturday morning, Rochester Real Estate with the Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results. Brett Gwaltney has joined us along with Elizabeth and Zach. Good morning, Brett.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yep, glad to hear from you as well. And this is the part of the program where Robin and I usually talk about the listings that are out there. Do you guys want to go through some of the listings available for folks listening?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have one coming soon on this weekend. 1900 11th Street Southwest in Rochester. It's a 2-story single-family home, 609. It's 4-bed, 5-bath, just shy of 3,500 square feet, built in 1997. And there's going to be open houses all weekend long. We also have, for other single-family homes in the area, we have one in Chatfield, 2127 Margaret Street Northeast, which is going to be getting a price reduction here to $550. We have 1410 Dorothy Drive in Zumbrota. That just had a price reduction down to $574,900. And one more here in Rochester, 1516 Woodland Drive Southwest for $449,900.
All right. So if you want to take a look at any of these homes, learn more about them, go to the website, Gwaltney Group. RE/MAXResults.com, or just Google Gwaltney Group. You'll get you there right away. Or give the folks at Gwaltney Group a call, RE/MAX Results. Going back to our program a week ago, we alluded to Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results being a full service entity. And I don't know if that says enough. because I have seen examples of what the team has done for people who are, kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place as they're trying to either downsize from their current home or facing some sort of situation where they're not able to get the stars to align perfectly. And I thought I saw on Facebook recently that you guys did something special for one of your clients. Maybe you can elaborate.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you just said, sometimes the stars don't align perfectly. And if you have a domino effect where you're closing on a home and they need to buy your next home, and then those people need to buy a home, there's a lot of dominoes that need to fall in the right spot. And sometimes they just don't. And so we had that kind of scenario happen where the sellers were selling their home and trying to buy their new home, but there was a delay just with some financing things. And so they said, Brett, what are we going to do? And I said, that's not a problem. We're problem solvers. We're here to help. So what we did is my mom and dad, got their 26-foot car trailer, brought it over to the house. We had 7 or 8 Gwaltney Group members there at 8:30 at night, the night before the closing, packing that bad boy up to the brim. And then we actually stored it for a couple of days, while they had to close on their home. And so, we did it all for them, from packing to storing it and then to getting it to their new property.
Wow. That's pretty much all I can say to that. That certainly is going above and beyond.
Yeah. Most people are thrilled. I know it's a stressful time for most people, and we try to take the stress out of it as best we can. But we understand that's just the nature of the beast. People have stress that they can't control, but we're here to comfort them and to make it as smooth as possible in a moving and just a transaction in general.
Andy, too, it's not uncommon. We actually have 4 Airbnb properties that one of our agents oversees, Michael Grove. And so it's not uncommon if there is a lapse, right? Someone needs to be out of their house, but it's not ready to move into their new house, and they need those proceeds from the sale of their house before they can purchase. And they have a week or they have 2 weeks in between because we just couldn't align it perfectly, right? We put people into those Airbnbs on a regular basis. No problem, no questions asked. So we have that avenue too that can really be helpful, which I don't think a lot of people can offer in the area. So that's just one of the many stories that we do. I just had a situation where I had a buyer and a seller. Well, they sold their house, and on the same day they need to use the proceeds, right, to purchase their new house. So we moved them into the new house because it worked out well early at no cost. So they were able to move out over the course of 3 days. And I just called them. They're in their house for the first time. And I said, hey, you guys, let me send you dinner. What would you like? And so what people don't think about at first, right, is that first night in the home, like they're just moving boxes, not thinking about eating. And so Chinese food, showed up at their door at 6 p.m. So, that's just like some little small things that we do to help make the process a little bit easier.
Well, you call them small things, but I think for the people on the receiving end, they're more than a little bit significant.
I think that's what makes the difference, right? Those things make the difference. It shows that we care, that we're here for you, right? That we care about you and your well-being, and that's our motto.
Yeah, I know Robin has certainly emphasized that every time we talk, that it's not a win-lose situation. It's trying to create a win-win situation for everybody involved, where this huge transaction that's often life-changing for folks is something they look back on and have fond memories of, instead of those, dealing with post-traumatic stress syndrome. I don't mean to be glib about that, but it is, if things aren't going the way you plan, they can be very, very stressful and get that way very quickly.
I think some of our best clients and our clients that we see and they buy and sell with us on our, over the course of the years, multiple times, are those that maybe have had a stressful situation or a transaction, and that we've been there every step of the way, and we saw through that stress for them, and we helped, problem solve and navigate that for them. Those are some of the best clients because they know your value, right? And so it's important that not every transaction goes the way it's supposed to go, but it's how you show up for your clients.
I know from experience with my son, because he purchased a home through Gwaltney Group-RE results, and there was a hiccup right before closing regarding the HVAC system.
Yep.
And
Okay.
Robin stepped in there and said, "Don't worry about it. We've got people." And and
I mean,
next thing you
really-
know, there was folks at the house, and it was remedied in really short order, and everybody breathed a big sigh of relief, and everything went smooth as can be after that.
Right. I mean, you really want to think about, like, you're buying a home. You kind of want to coach, right? You want to coach. You want to be able to call someone if you're stressed out and have them solve the issue. And I think that's what we do beautifully here. And we have the connections in the area to do that. So that's one thing I just love about us.
Absolutely. Well, it's that time of the show where I'm going to turn it over to the three of you to throw out your phone numbers if somebody wants to give you a call, or maybe just general contact information for Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results. If they're listening and they think this is the time to sell their home, or they heard about the first-time home buyer programs that we discussed earlier and they want to take advantage of getting into home ownership, how do they get a hold of you?
Sure. Well, thank you. So if you'd like to contact me, Elizabeth Burch, you can give my cell a call or shoot me a text. I'm great at getting back pretty quickly. 507-202-8485. I'd love to talk to you more about your goals.
And Zach Pagel here. My number is 715-573-4872. Happy to assist home buyers and do have a lot of experience in commercial real estate as well, which I know we don't talk about a ton on this show here, but a lot going on in Rochester. Would love to talk about it with anyone interested.
And lastly, but not least, Brett Gwaltney, 507-272-4019.
All right. And of course, the Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results website is a great resource with fantastic photos of the properties that are available right now. Thank you, Elizabeth, Brett, and Zach. I appreciate you stepping in while Robin is on assignment.
Yep, you'll have your girl back next week.
Okay. We'll have to hear all her stories, that's for sure. Thank you again. And this is News Talk 1340, KROC AM, 96.9 FM. And we've been talking with the folks from Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results.
From the Haley Comfort Systems studios, this is KROC AM Rochester. Get the latest local news on the KROC News app.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packard. Another shakeup in the presidential race. Robert Kennedy Jr. suspending his campaign and endorsing the Republican nominee to Washington. And ABC's Mary Alice Parks.
Independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. endorsing the former president, the son of the late U.S. Senator Robert Kennedy and nephew of President John F. Kennedy. His sister, Carrie Kennedy, telling our Elizabeth Schulze she loves her brother but abhors what he did.
Anybody who loves our family, who respects, who work on civil rights, on civil liberties, know that Donald Trump is their enemy.
RFK was a Democrat himself for most of his life.
And the former president who survived an assassination attempt in July, Trump also announcing a new plan.
I am announcing tonight that upon my election, I will establish a new independent presidential commission on assassination attempts. And they will be tasked with releasing all of the remaining documents pertaining to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
Encouraging news on the economy, especially for anyone interested in borrowing money. The Federal Reserve now poised to cut interest rates in its next meeting. The news sending stocks surging on Wall Street. ABC's Alexis Christoforous has more.
Years of Fed rate hikes meant to tame inflation, lifted rates on credit cards and auto loans to record highs, and doubled mortgage rates for millions of home buyers. A series of rate cuts would make borrowing money cheaper and give the housing market a much-needed boost and make taking out a new mortgage for potential home buyers much more attractive.
A former Memphis police officer changing his plea to guilty in the deadly beating of Tyree Nichols. Emmett Martin entered a guilty plea on charges of using excessive force and witness tampering in federal court as part of a deal with prosecutors. Martin, the second former officer to plead guilty in the case. You're listening to ABC News.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Meet Brian. He just got $5,000, and it was pretty easy. I'll tell you how in 10 seconds. Brian needed cash help. After being rejected by banks, he tried 27cash.com. Told them how much he needed, even let them know he had bad credit. In minutes, 27cash.com found a lender who deposited $5,000 into his bank account the very next day. If you need cash help, even if you have bad credit, go to 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
The free federal at-home COVID-19 test program set to resume at the end of September.
The CDC said last week it estimates that COVID-19 cases are growing or likely growing in more than half the states. However, hospitalizations and deaths remain relatively low compared to past waves. And the agency previously recommended for everyone over the age of 6 months to get an updated vaccine. And the new vaccine doses are expected to roll out starting in September.
That's ABC's Sam Wynn. The former Florida deputy who shot and killed a U.S. airman is now facing charges and possibly decades in prison if convicted. ABC's Morgan Norwood has more.
The former Florida deputy who shot and killed U.S. senior airman Roger Fortson, now charged with manslaughter with a firearm. The Florida state attorney issuing a warrant for former deputy Eddie Duran, who was fired from the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Department after their investigation found his use of force was not objectively reasonable. According to court documents, prosecutors alleged Duran acted with culpable negligence when he gunned down Fortson inside his Fort Walton Beach home on May 3rd.
At least 5 U.S. Secret Service officials involved in the planning of Donald Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th, where a gunman attempted to kill the former president, have been placed on administrative duty, according to 2 sources familiar with the situation. The move coming nearly 6 weeks after Thomas Matthew Crooks killed 1 man, wounded 3 others, including the former president. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Bills piling up? Rent due? Need cash help but have bad or no credit? Then you need to go to FastLoansAI.com, where you can get approved for a loan of up to $10,000 regardless of your credit score. FastLoansAI.com is one of the largest lender networks. Their advanced technology can help anyone get up to $10,000. Best part? Money can be in your bank account as fast as the same day. When you need fast cash, go to FastLoansAI.com. That's FastLoansAI.com.
From the News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM, Weather Eye Weather Center.
Chance of rain showers today. Otherwise, sunshine mixed with clouds at times. High temperatures reach up to 85. Winds out of the southeast, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows level off around 71. Tonight, chance of thunderstorms. Partly cloudy tomorrow. Chance of thunderstorms. High of 88. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist